We hear all the time that caravan manufacturers have thoroughly tested their vehicles to ensure that they can do everything they promise. But what does this mean? What exactly goes on at these caravan testing sessions? Caravan Times is here in Germany today at the top secret Markbronn testing facility to get an exclusive look at how Elddis tests its Taurus. I'm joined now by David Stiles from Elddis. So David, we're at the Markbronn testing track in Germany. Tell me, why is it so important that Elddis tests its caravans here and in this way?
The testing for us is hard analytical durability tests. Back at the factory of the creative design, the flair, the open-mindedness. But how those things work in reality needs to be tested, needs to be evaluated. And this is a good way of getting hard fact data as to what we do.
And how often do you come to this track to do your testing?
We use a variety of tracks. We do a test typically once every 6 months, not always at the same track. Each track has its own characteristics. So this one here we tend to use when we want to really give the caravan a hard time and really see how it tests.
And what exactly do the tests that you're doing at Markbronn this week entail?
This week in Markbronn we are basically taking a caravan which has some prototype parts on, some developmental parts on, and we're trying to rattle them and see how they stand up to loading and the typical stresses that you might see over the lifetime of towing a caravan.
And what kind of obstacles do you have to tow across on the Markbronn course?
It's mainly a road endurance test, so there are cobble streets, long cobble streets, which are undulating and not particularly smooth. There's bumps and humps in the road, and there's also a section of potholes.
Alright, we're just about to do a lap of the Markbronn track sat inside this Elddis concept caravan. This track is renowned for being caravan torture. It's really grueling. Now we're about to go over the first set of bumps. It's going to get quite violent in here, but I'm going to try and hold on to my seat as best as I can. The caravan does a brilliant job at standing up to all of this. It's going to get a little bit loud though. And it's going to get quite bumpy about now. I don't know if you can hear this, but it's just smoothed out now, but all the windows and... They call this section the washboard because it's uneven. And then you have the twist humps, which are even worse. But the worst bit that's still to come is the potholes. Final section now is the potholes, and this is really quite violent. It really shakes the caravan around, simulating a badly repaired road. It gets very loud in here, and you just have to cling on and stick it out. Whew. Okay, we're going to go for another lap. I'm going to try and cling onto the bed this time. The cobblestones. That's relatively mild compared to what's about to come up. Everything's rattling around, it's quite noisy in here, but the caravan's standing up to it really well. Next up is the washboard. We start to rock from side to side. You just need to hang on. And the carpet's starting to bunch up underneath me. It's all very loud, but nothing's falling out. None of the cupboards have even come open. It's all holding together quite nicely. Thank goodness that's over. I think I feel quite sick now after that, to be honest with you. So once the tests are finished, what do you learn from it? How does that help you develop your products going forward?
Well, in simple terms, we learn which parts fail and which parts succeed. Those that succeed we might look at and say, well, can we make them lighter? Is there any more work we can do to reduce the weight? Those that don't meet their expectations, we'll go back and re-engineer them.
Tell me a little bit about solid construction. Obviously that was tested for several years before it was introduced to the public. How much has the introduction of solid construction impacted on your testing program and the results that you get from testing?
Solid construction for us has made our testing rather easier because we bond the chassis to the floor and the floor to the sides, and the whole box, the whole assembly is that much more integral, more rigid, working, dare I say, as a monocoque. The results have become more favourable. You know, this van has undergone the testing, the doors are aligned, we haven't touched anything, it's surviving very, very well. What we find overall by measuring the stresses is the stresses in the chassis in particular, the peak loads are reduced because the whole structure is taking the load bearing rather than just the bolts being the key fixing.
And you mentioned there, this is actually the van that you've been testing in for the last couple of days, although you wouldn't know it. What have you actually done to this van? How is this different from a normal Elddis production van that would roll off the concept facility?
Well, I'm not going to tell you, because those are development components, but there are bits hidden in the structure, there are bits hidden in the within the caravan assembly, and they're not in production today, but they might be in the production in the future. They are pieces that we are considering that would make caravans lighter, different, improve them a little bit more.
Top secret stuff then. So we've done a lot of towing, a lot of testing on this caravan this week. What happens to it now after you're finished with it?
Now it'll go back to BPW first, because they have wired the caravan up like a Christmas tree. Underneath there are lots of strain gauges. Those need to be removed. We can't just hack them off here, they're rather expensive. So it goes back to BPW. They'll do further analysis, further measurements on the chassis. They might put it on their 5-post test rig. And from there they'll just clean it down, and then it's ready for us to take back to the factory. After that we'll evaluate it again, pull it to pieces and decide what to do next, frankly.
All these tests take place in top secret, and it's not often film crews are allowed here. So most of the time we just have to take their word for it. But having seen the amount of abuse these caravans get at Markbronn, it's no surprise why Elddis is so confident in the durability of its solid construction range.